Focus is not what you think it is. You've been told it's a productivity hack, a way to tick more boxes on a to-do list, a gentle act of discipline that makes you a little more efficient in your day. But that's the bedtime story told to children and corporate drones, not the truth. The truth is darker. The truth is dangerous. And Niccolò Machiavelli would have laughed at the childish way we treat focus today. He didn't see it as a tool for getting things done. He saw it as a weapon, something forged to conquer, to dominate, to bend the world to your will. The kind of focus that makes people move out of your way before you've even spoken. The kind of focus that makes competitors quit without you lifting a finger. The kind of focus that carves a path through the chaos of life like a blade cutting through silk. And here's the uncomfortable reality. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're scattered. Their mind is not weak. It's leaking. Their energy is not gone. It's diluted. Their potential is not missing. It's dispersed into 100 directions at once. And Machiavelli knew the first law of power. What is dispersed is weak. What is concentrated becomes unstoppable. So the real question is not, how do I focus? It's, how do I weaponize focus so thoroughly that nothing and no one can pull me off target? Machiavelli never wrote a productivity manual. He didn't sit down to list morning habits or focus hacks for the masses. He understood something deeper, something far more lethal. Focus was not about feeling good or staying organized. It was about control. Control of your environment, your enemies, and most importantly, yourself. To Machiavelli, the man who could hold his attention like a blade could hold a kingdom. We live in a world that praises the illusion of attention while quietly draining it from you. Every app you open, every pointless notification, every trivial demand for your time, they're not neutral. They're traps. They are the velvet chains of a distracted society, locking you in place while convincing you that you're free. You think you're managing your day, but the truth is your day is managing you. And every time you let the world decide where your mind goes, you surrender a piece of your throne. Most men don't understand this because they confuse movement with progress. They mistake busyness for achievement. They sprint in every direction but arrive nowhere. Their calendars are full but their purpose is empty. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago, even without smartphones or social media. He watched leaders chase too many goals, try to please too many allies, open too many fronts, and he knew the result was always the same. They fell. Not because they lacked talent or courage, but because they lacked concentration. The first step to Machiavellian focus is subtraction. Not adding new systems, not layering new strategies, not finding the perfect app. You strip away the unnecessary until only the essential remains. The fox avoids the trap. The lion eliminates the threat. Your trap is distraction. Your threat is options. Your mind is cluttered not because you're weak, but because you've allowed indulgence to masquerade as opportunity. You've said yes to too many projects, entertained too many conversations, tried to be too many things to too many people. A Machiavellian doesn't play that game. He chooses one battlefield and burns every escape route. He doesn't try a goal. He declares war on it. There's no plan B. There's no seeing how it goes. There is only complete psychological commitment. If he chooses to master his craft, he doesn't dabble in hobbies to keep balance. If he chooses to build a business, he doesn't dilute himself chasing every new idea. If he decides to forge a body that commands respect, he doesn't compromise because a friend invited him out. In his mind, every alternative path has been set on fire. Once you cut away the excess, the second step is to seize territorial control of the mind. Machiavelli advised princes to maintain mystery, to be unpredictable, to vanish when it served their interests. In the modern world, this means refusing to be permanently reachable. Constant accessibility is the enemy of mastery. If people can always reach you, they can always pull you away from your work. If your phone can always buzz, it will always break your flow. Every moment you give away in reaction is stolen from your own empire. So you disappear when you work. You vanish from messages, from notifications, from pointless chatter. You block out sacred hours, not for deep work, because it's trendy, but because this is your sovereign territory. No one enters without permission. You don't explain. You don't apologize. You simply are not there. And when you return on your terms, not theirs. The absence becomes power. The silence becomes a weapon. They wonder where you are. They wonder what you're building. And by the time they realize, it's already too late. But control isn't just about avoidance. It's about pressure. Machiavelli understood that necessity forces men to act. Comfort weakens, luxury softens, and safety breeds carelessness. If you want to focus like a strategist, you must create stakes. Publicly commit to a goal so your reputation is on the line. Bet money on your own success so you can't afford to fail. Set deadlines so tight they make you uncomfortable. Burn the safety nets so you must move forward or be destroyed. Fear sharpens the mind in ways comfort never will. And then, you must reframe focus itself. It is not a gentle state. It is not the peaceful monk in a quiet room. Focus is violence against distraction. It is the ruthless killing of everything that tries to steal your attention. You don't reason with distraction. You don't negotiate with it. You destroy it without hesitation. You uninstall the app. You block the site. You cut the person. You remove the excuse. You treat distraction like a rebel army inside your castle walls, and you crush it before it grows strong enough to overthrow you. Machiavelli would call this governing the inner kingdom. Because the truth is, your greatest enemy is not the phone, the email, or the noise outside. It's the softness within you that reaches for them. It's the internal saboteur that whispers, "Check it, just for a moment." That voice must be treated as treason. Every time your mind drifts, you drag it back like a prisoner. Every time it obeys, you reward it like a loyal soldier. Over time, you don't just control your mind learns to obey without question. Once the internal kingdom is under control, the Machiavellian understands that the next step is to weaponize solitude. Ordinary men fear being alone with their thoughts. They run from silence into the arms of noise. They crave stimulation because it hides the truth about their own weakness. But the strategist knows that isolation is where the blade is sharpened. Machiavelli himself did his greatest work not surrounded by applause, but in exile, banished, betrayed, and left with nothing but his mind. In that stillness, he wrote The Prince, a book that has shaped power for half a millennium. Your focus will never be unshakable until you deliberately engineer isolation. Not the kind that happens accidentally, but the kind you create as a ritual of war. You block out entire days where no one can find you. You retreat from the grid. You turn off every channel the world can use to reach you. At first, your mind will resist. It will itch for the easy dopamine of conversation, messages, updates. That's withdrawal. That's the poison leaving your system. Stay long enough, and something shifts. The noise fades, the signal strengthens, and you begin to see your goals not as vague dreams, but as inevitable conquests. In this state, you can begin building the hierarchy of values that will govern your attention. Machiavelli never believed in equality, not among men, not among actions, not among priorities. Some things matter more, and the wise ruler allocates his resources accordingly. In your case, that means establishing an unbreakable order. Mission-critical tasks at the top, maintenance tasks beneath them, and at the bottom, the forbidden category, anything that steals attention without serving the mission. Every time you enforce this order, your focus grows sharper. Every time you blur it, you weaken the crown. Now comes the collapse of time. The average man stretches work to fill the hours available. The Machiavellian compresses it to the sharpest edge possible. He asks, if I had only 3 hours to achieve what others take 3 days to do, how would I act? And then he acts exactly that way, with precision, with decisiveness, with the speed of a predator closing in on prey. This is not about doing more over a longer period. It's about doing the most that matters in the smallest possible window, so that every action lands like a killing strike. But even a sharp blade is useless if it swings in the wrong direction. This is where most ambitious men fail. They focus on the wrong targets. Machiavelli taught that power comes not from controlling the masses, but from controlling the few who control the masses. These are the power nodes, the generals, the financiers, the gatekeepers. In your world, They are the critical skills, relationships, and leverage points that produce results out of proportion to the effort you put in. Find them. Ignore the rest. 1,000 random efforts will never match one precise blow at the right node. And to strike precisely, you must also control what enters your mind. The Machiavellian does not consume for comfort, he consumes for conquest. Every book, every conversation, every piece of media is ammunition for his campaign. He reads to sharpen judgment, listens to detect opportunity, and watches to decode the moves of others. He doesn't scroll for distraction, he scouts for intelligence. If it doesn't feed the mission, it's eliminated without regret. From there, focus becomes a system you engineer like a weapon. You don't simply try harder to concentrate. You test your environment, your habits, your hours, your triggers. You track results, cut what dulls your edge, and double down on what sharpens it. The average man hopes for focus. The Machiavellian builds it deliberately, like a fortress, upgrading it through each campaign until it is unbreakable. At the heart of this fortress is the supreme mission. This is not a vague dream or a polite ambition. This is an obsession that bends the rest of your life to its gravity. Every decision either serves it or is destroyed. Every hour is evaluated by how much closer it moves you toward it. Machiavelli urged princes to pursue glory, not for vanity, but because glory forces discipline. You need the same gravitational force, the same dangerous clarity. When your mission is this sharp, you no longer try to focus, you can't not focus. But even with a mission, the greatest threat is still the enemy within, the internal saboteur. He wears the face of comfort, reason, and self-preservation. He tells you to slow down, to be realistic, to take the easy route. Machiavelli would call this man a traitor, and he would deal with him accordingly. You must do the same. Guilt for saying no, shame for choosing solitude, doubt for aiming high, all of it is psychological sabotage. You kill it not with compromise, but with fire. The strategist knows that distraction is not only loud, it's also addictive. And like any addiction, the only cure is detox. The most dangerous craving of the modern mind is not for pleasure, but for stimulation. Endless variety. Constant novelty. That little electric jolt every time a notification appears. Machiavelli would call it a poison disguised as entertainment. And the antidote is boredom, the kind of stillness most men cannot endure without breaking. Boredom is not weakness. It's a weapon. When you can sit in a room alone with nothing but your mind, without reaching for the escape hatch of your phone or a screen, you are training the most critical muscle of all, your ability to endure mental stillness. In stillness, the mind becomes sharp. In stillness, you stop reacting to every flicker in the world outside and start directing the energy within. So you practice it deliberately. You sit in silence for 20 minutes and think about your next move with nothing to distract you. No music, no background noise, no multitasking. At first, your brain will scream for release. But that means you've been dependent on noise, and now the dependency is breaking. Every session you endure strengthens your command. And once you master boredom, you are no longer a prisoner of stimulation. You are free to command storms instead of being carried by them. This is where the feedback loop enters. Machiavelli despised blind effort. A ruler who acts without adjusting is no ruler at all. He is a fool stumbling into traps. The same is true for focus. You don't just grind day after day without evaluation. You measure. You reflect. You adapt. After each work sprint, you ask, what worked? What failed? What drained me? What drove me? You remove what kills momentum and strengthen what feeds it. You are not a laborer with a shovel. You are an engineer refining a war machine. Over time, this war machine becomes your identity. Focus is no longer something you do when conditions are right. It's what you are. You walk into a room and people feel the weight of your presence. You speak less because every word is intentional. You move with precision because every step serves a purpose. Machiavelli understood the psychology of appearance. When others believe you are unshakable, you begin to believe it too. And what you believe consistently, you become. But even identity is tested under fire. Anyone can focus in perfect silence. The true strategist holds his mind in chaos. When the world collapses, deadlines close in, tempers rise, and insults fly, that's when the unfocused break. The Machiavellian thrives here. He moves slowly in the middle of panic. He sees the board when everyone else is blind. He keeps his hands steady while others drop their weapons. Emotional control under pressure is the difference between temporary focus and unbreakable mastery. To master this, you train like a political surgeon. When triggered, you don't react, you delay. 10 seconds is enough for the rational mind to reclaim the throne from the emotional one. You name the emotion aloud, envy, doubt, irritation, and strip it of its disguise. Then you dismiss it, not because you are cold, but because you refuse to give your mission over to a passing impulse. Let others drown in feelings. You rise in stillness. And now, you begin to treat attention as a currency. The prince who appears too often is seen as common. The prince who is rare and decisive is revered. Your attention works the same way. Every time you spend it on meaningless drama, idle gossip, or digital slot machines, you waste capital that could have been invested in empire building. From now on, you put your attention only where returns are exponential, relationships that elevate you, projects that scale, strategies that multiply power. You are no longer busy. You are building. This scarcity of focus creates mystery. And mystery creates status. When others can't read you, they project power onto you. They assume you are working on something big. They want to be part of it, even if they don't understand it. Machiavelli would weaponize this, and so should you. Let your restraint speak for you. Let your absence breed curiosity. The less you explain, the more they imagine. The more they imagine, the more they respect. But you cannot hold this edge if you keep company with the unfocused. Focus is contagious, but so is its absence. Spend too much time around scattered people, and their chaos infects you. Machiavelli warned princes to choose their advisors with care, for bad counsel can ruin the strongest ruler. The same applies here. Remove the focus leeches, even if they are charming, even if they are close. Keep only those who sharpen your blade in silence, not those who dull it with noise. Then you trap yourself into excellence. You declare your mission publicly. You set deadlines others can see. You make failure so visible, so humiliating, that you cannot tolerate it. Pride becomes the chain that binds you to your work. This is not self-help fluff. This is survival engineering. The Machiavellian understands that when the stakes are high enough, laziness dies and urgency takes its place. And you operate in silence. You do not narrate your moves. You do not broadcast your plans. You don't explain why you're focused. You simply are. Actions echo louder than updates. A silent man building in the dark is more dangerous than a loud man promising in the light. Failure will come. Even the most disciplined strategist will have days where focus slips, where attention bleeds into the wrong places, where distractions break through the walls. But here is the difference between the common man and the Machiavellian. The common man treats failure as a verdict. The strategist treats it as a chapter. You will not always win the hour, but you can always win the next one. The rule is simple: never miss twice. One distracted hour means you recalibrate the next. One wasted day means you rise sharper tomorrow. There is no mourning, no whining, no public confession of weakness. You simply return to the fortress and continue the campaign. Momentum is not destroyed by failure. It is destroyed by hesitation after failure. The man who can recover focus in hours instead of weeks is the man no enemy can outlast. But this recovery is only possible when you hold the eagle view. The short-sighted leader sees only the revolt in front of him. The Machiavellian leader sees the decade beyond it. In your own empire, this means never confusing the skirmish for the war. A bad day is not a collapse. A setback is not a death sentence. You zoom out. You see the pattern. You adjust the system. You keep building toward the vision that has guided you from the beginning. This is the final form of focus, not just locking in on the immediate task, but knowing exactly where that task fits in the grand strategy. Not just reacting to what's urgent, but positioning yourself for what's inevitable. The common man fights today's fires. The strategist builds tomorrow's kingdom while the fires burn around him. When you operate like this, focus is no longer a skill. It is no longer a practice you remember to apply when the conditions are perfect. It becomes your identity, fused into your every movement. You no longer try to be disciplined, you simply are. You no longer work on staying concentrated, you cannot imagine living any other way. And in this identity, you become untouchable. You are not a man who sits quietly at a desk while the world passes him by. You are a prince operating from the shadows, directing the flow of events, moving with precision while others flail in noise. You build in silence, strike with accuracy, and watch as your enemies exhaust themselves trying to keep up with a rhythm they can't even see. This is what Machiavelli would have told you if you had asked him for advice on focus. Do not think of it as peace. Think of it as war. War against distraction, against indulgence, against the rebel voices in your own mind. Do not aim for balance, aim for control. Do not hope for motivation, build necessity. Do not try to be everything. Become the master of one thing so completely that the world must bend around you. Because in a world drowning in noise, the man who owns his attention owns everything. He decides where the day goes. He decides which opportunities grow and which die. He decides what is built and what is destroyed. And when your focus reaches this level, the Machiavellian level, you are no longer playing the same game as the rest. Let the others scroll. Let them chase every new distraction. Let them scatter their energy like peasants throwing coins. You will build. You will sharpen. You will move unseen until the moment you choose to strike. And when that moment comes, they will realize what you have been doing all along, but by then it will be too late. Because the fortress is already built. The crown is already yours. And your focus is no longer a practice. It is a throne from which you will rule for as long as you choose.